Experiencing Europa Park for the first time is one of the most exciting visits to a theme park that one could have, showcasing their many rides and roller coasters with quality theming, custom soundtracks, and incredibly efficient operations. So when a new attraction like this one is being built, the world is watching with an unmatched level of anticipation, and with that comes high expectations. Has Europa Park finally created the standout attraction that the park needed? This is Voltron. Europa Park and Mach Rides have set on this quest to build the world's best themed roller coaster. Voltron begins with an indoor moving station to help riders load quickly and capitalize on capacity. The ride can run 7 trains, so along with the help of the perfect operations at the park, the cars are sent quick. The multiple blocks throughout the layout result in some dueling moments as they twist around each other. It adds a really great kinetic energy to the area that is mesmerizing to watch. After a really good indoor show scene, you're finally launching past vertically at the sky with the large Voltron tower in prominent display as you flip and wrap down and then through the large theming element. A quick downward corkscrew right away shows you that this ride means business. Into a tiny bunny hill, here's an element that I really wish manufacturers would stop overusing. Just a section of flat straight track here with some surrounding theming would work really nicely to grab riders' attention on how fast they're moving at one of the fastest parts of the coaster. 2 Immelmans back to back are next. They're similarly shaped, but it actually works great here as you spin out of each in a different direction and then into a launch and the long stall. This is the beginning of one of my favorite segments of the attraction. The pull out of this element comes a bit late as you bank back upright, just a bit later than expected. A fun little quirk and some extra laterals to the left. And then that massive airtime moment with the first straight hill of the layout. Definitely a highlight. A whippy twisted hill with a fun high turn into a dive loop in the other direction. At this point, you're pretty confused at which way you're facing, and you hit the brakes for a much needed break. Here you can have a laugh and chat before spinning 180 degrees at this turntable. This turntable also acts as a double transfer track to the maintenance garage, so I can't help but kind of nerd out here and admire the very smart design that's going on. There's another audio cue during this rotation. It's a nice touch, but I really can't help but want this entire section to be totally enclosed, including that backward spike. It would really add a lot of much needed theming to the main layout of this coaster. Thinking about the layout ahead, the backward launch actually catches me off guard here, and the 4th launch up into the top hat-like element points you back towards the station, but there's still a lot to come. Another massive airtime moment where you start high and then end low to the ground. It's a strong, twisted hill to follow, and back to back, this is probably my favorite ride sequence of the ride. A double up is intense and into the mid-course brake run. It's not my personal favorite, maybe feels a bit too RMC-like. And now come the positive G's for you Team Positive G people. Exiting a corkscrew, likely the most intense part of the ride because of these continuous positive G's, you slightly gray out while turning to the right, and then left into a quick overbank. All around the pathways, it's probably the coolest spot to observe the ride from the ground, and just before it's over, a standard corkscrew and final airtime bump into the brakes. It's intense, it's a bit shaky, it throws you around, it throws everything at you. It's a lot in a good way. Now for the rest of this review, I'm going to be pretty harsh because this park is on such a high level that it really deserves it. My harshness is a compliment to what you come to expect out of Europa Park. Voltron features an awesome overhead layout that is really nicely designed, and it feels twisted while taking place in an out and back plot of land. With this, it's able to retain some classic elements like those straight airtime hills or the long stall, and it's perfectly designed from an overhead perspective. Some elements are very tight for the area that they take up, giving that strong RMC-like feel to them. Less is more. This ride's length is really good. It doesn't meander on and on at the end. It's all useful track, very effective and a long layout. The trains are huge. They are possibly the widest 4-cross trains out there, and then for just having 4 rows, they're probably the longest as well. These things are roomy. You aren't sitting right next to the person next to you, and it's really cool to have so much freedom of movement around you. The wing seats are going to ride a bit rougher, but all seats feel like they have that similar mock roller coaster jackhammer feel, but it's intensified a bit more on this particular ride. I don't think it was too much to detract from the ride, and it added a level of adrenaline as well. The restraints are really comfortable and they give you enough freedom to give off that slight unease with some lateral forces hitting to the left and the right. It's really good. From the buildup of the queue to the station to the small dark ride section and then the very intense layout, it's a very exciting ride. Plenty of every type of force, everyone will have their favorite moments, and while some sections feel similar, it doesn't happen often enough to feel repetitive. I always say that MOC's layouts have a bad pace. Sometimes they feel like they just place elements one after the next, and they don't blend together like some other manufacturers' layouts. In consequence, their pace falls flat, and it's easy to pinpoint the good and bad parts of a MOC ride coaster. However, this is definitely the best paced MOC rides ride that I have been on. Everything flows really nicely. There's no moments where I'm just waiting to get to the good part. The whole ride is the good part. It's long, it has a bit of everything. The elements don't blend together too perfectly like with these newer Vekoma style rides. There's still a nice mix of perfect transitions and then some others that have some quirky laterals and unique little shapes when going from one element to the next. Like this transition here, the roll velocities just kind of change a bit from one to the other. It's a really good thing. The theming of the ride, the queue in the indoor space is great. A fun pre-show with real Tesla coils is extremely impressive, and the little details in this factory setting are excellent. The surrounding pathways around and under the ride really add an incredible element that off-riders and the non-coaster guests can really enjoy. It's a great area to just observe the ride over and over. While on the ride itself, I can't help but feel the back half of the layout feels bare and backstage, but once the trees and other foliage grows in, the ride will really shine in this area too. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the turntable and backward spike could just be a totally enclosed section, and it would really help this. The ride is sponsored by Rimac, and it doesn't detract from the experience. Voltron is one unique ride, and if it had to be compared to anything, it is most similar to the Smiler at Alton Towers. So if you're a fan of the Smiler, this ride is one that you'll probably enjoy more because the layout is that much better. Voltron is a roller coaster that I think about a lot. One that has me wanting to go back to Europa Park because it really is that good. The standout attraction is now here. It's perfect for this park. It's what the park needed, and what a winner they have on their hands. Voltron just barely squeezes into my top 25 out of 1,000 different roller coasters that I've been on. It really is that good.